Welcome to this week's episode of the Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned podcast. If you've been following along lately, you know that something has been brewing, and I am so excited to share with you exactly what that is. So, what we have coming up is something we've been working on for almost a year. It is a curated, powerful women's leadership and lifestyle festival, and it's going to be hosted at the Pillar and Post in the stunning Niagara-on-the-Lake. Wake the F Up Festival. Whatever the F is, you need to wake up, whether it's fun, focus, freedom, or the other one. We have designed a transformative experience just for you. This isn't just another leadership conference. It's a celebration. It's a breakthrough. And it's coming together as powerful women ready to align your success with true fulfillment. Imagine connecting with like-minded souls, diving deep into professional growth, and walking away not just inspired, but truly awakened. We're talking about electric energy, real conversations, and actionable insights that you can take back into your business and life. We've got an amazing lineup of speakers, including the powerhouse Olympic champion Elizabeth Manley, the unstoppable swagger coach Leslie M., and so many other absolutely powerhouse women who are ready to pour all of their gifts into you. I'll have all the details linked in the show notes, so make sure you check that out after the episode. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. It is time. It is your time to find another way to actually lean into being ambitious, awakened, and aligned. Now, let's dive into today's conversation and keep that momentum going. Let's go! Hello, ambitious leaders, and welcome back to another episode of Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned. I'm your host, Lori Hawkins, and today's episode is particularly special. We're diving into a concept that has been incredibly eye-opening and transformational for me personally, and that is neuro identity. Neuro identity on the way to becoming her. And I just want to share with you this little map of what becoming her actually even means or looks like. And for our listeners, we will post a photo of this into the show notes as well. It's really about the current you, that low frequency, comfort zone, limiting beliefs, emotional addictions, and how do you become that next level you, where you love the fear of the unknown, your energy is a priority, you trust and align to your vision, and you rewire your thoughts and beliefs. This is your big, magnificent vision of your future self. And so I'm really excited that we're going to sort of try to understand today how your brain is wired and how that influences your leadership style, your decisions, your interactions. Personally, I'm currently in the process of completing my Neuro Identity Certification with the School of Becoming. And I want to be just so clear that many of the thoughts I'm going to share today come from the study and working with the School of Becoming. And the insights that I've gained so far have been nothing short of transformative. My husband and I went on a 2-week trip across to the East Coast a couple of months ago at the start of the summer. And he said to me, "You're just not the same." And I love that because we are ever evolving. And a big part of that is understanding this neuro identity piece and understanding that we actually play a role in it. We can be more intentional and purposeful in how we understand ourselves and how we move to make shifts towards that becoming her. So I'm thrilled to share some of these powerful ideas with you today that I've learned, along with some inspired actions that you can take to align your leadership with your true self. The key thought I really want to focus on is it's an evolution. I wanted to plant the seed today that I continue to evolve every single day. Really, every single conversation is an opportunity for an evolution. And so the insights that I share with you today and the tools that I share with you today, who knows? A few months from now, when we're having a conversation, we might have a totally different insight on who we are and what that looks like. Because what I know for sure is that who I am today and who you are today is not who you will be in a few months. And so it really is about planting seeds and working on that constant evolution of becoming her. So let's start with, what is neuro identity? Every time I share with someone that I'm taking this certification, I get asked, well, what really, Lori, what is that anyways? And honestly, I'm stumbled a little bit because it's so all encompassing of many things. And I'm on the journey myself. So I'm really working to find out the answers. And that's why I wanted to do this, because if you remember, one of our last podcasts was about there's no gurus. We're all on this path and journey to evolution. And so I'm sharing at the start of this journey, or maybe partway through the journey. And then there's other people that will be able to share further along. And so I want to meet you where you are. But by aligning to what neuro identity really is, it supports us on that evolution of becoming her. So what neuro identity refers to is the unique way that our brains are wired, which shapes our thoughts, our behaviors, and how we interact with the world around us. It's the intersection of neuroscience and personal identity, and understanding this can lead us to show up as our most authentic selves. What's really interesting, if we go back to when I started in business and when the sort of personal transformation, personal development industry really started, it was a lot about that: change your thoughts, change everything, change your mindset, change everything. And the part that we left behind early in that conversation was the role the body plays in that, because these things are a highway connected. Our gut health, our mind health, our body health, everything, our emotional health, all of these things are interweaved. So part of the neuro identity piece is understanding how these all weave together. When it comes to leadership, knowing your neuro identity really allows you to lead in a way that feels natural and aligned with who you are. It's about tapping into your innate strength and making decisions that actually resonate with your core values and your true self. It's also about really evolving into this state of non-judgmental self-awareness. Yes, I said non-judgmental self-awareness. And that sounds so simple. And that is the biggest part of the growth opportunity. For me, I've noticed that I can step into self-awareness, and often when I'm in self-awareness, I am also in judgment. And so for us to evolve into becoming her, it's actually about that non-judgmental piece. Because when we judge ourselves, we judge everything around us. And when we're in that state of judgment, we're not actually in a state of transformation. We can't really evolve from that state in what we want our future identity to actually be. So this is the game, is non-judgmental self-awareness. And then we start to build self-trust. Then we become more intentional in our thinking and our responses. We stop applying meaning to everything that happens. And instead, we're in a state of what is called isness. This is what it is in the moment. It's actually our judgment and emotions and thoughts that we apply to those situations that truly have an impact of what happens next. I love this quote by Carl Jung, and he just so beautifully puts it. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is a perfect reflection of what we're really here to discuss today. By understanding and embracing your neuro identity, you can lead with greater clarity, confidence, and authenticity. And isn't that truly what's going to evolve businesses and lives and relationships? Absolutely. So let's discuss some practical examples of where our neuroidentity comes into play. One of the ways is when it comes to decision-making styles. Some leaders are naturally more analytical, relying on data and logic. That's not me. But that's some people. While others are more intuitive, going with their gut. Understanding where you fall on this spectrum can actually help you make decisions that feel right and in alignment with your true self. If you are an intuitive decision maker, trust that inner voice rather than second guessing it with too much analysis. I'm not saying that data isn't important, because it absolutely is. We want the data and logic to support that intuitive feeling. But if intuition is what we lead with, if that is a strength in our neuroidentity, and we keep running around and trying to find more data and analyzing more, we actually end up in analysis fatigue, analysis paralysis, and we typically don't move that forward, or we end up making a decision that doesn't feel in alignment. And I think if we look back at those decisions, then you understand those are the moments of stuck, or the moments of something that didn't quite go as you planned or hoped. Here's another example: communication preferences. So how we communicate is a big part of our neuroidentity. Are you someone who thrives on visual aids and diagrams, or do you prefer a more verbal explanation? Knowing your communication style is also key to really connecting with your teams and conveying your ideas effectively. And this is true in any relationship. So just thinking about these two practical examples, let's think of an inspired action that you can take towards this. So just take a moment to reflect on a recent decision or maybe an important conversation. This could be in your life or in business. Did you approach that conversation in a way that felt natural to who you actually are? How did your brain's wiring influence the outcome of that conversation? This reflection can be a really powerful first step in embracing your true style. And notice as you reflect, where did that judgmental piece come up? Where did that internal dialogue of maybe negativity play a role? So once you sit with this, then you can start to just have awareness. And my big ask of you is non-judgmental awareness. So as you do this reflection, practice not judging it. It's information. The more that you judge it, the less that you have an opportunity to step into that future state self. So there's a quick practice to just play with this. Now let's look at how would you align your leadership even with this whole neuro identity concept? Because aligning your leadership is like switching gears. I think I would say, instead of feeling like effort when you're stepping into and becoming her, that effort piece flips to flow. And think about even the energy and frequency of effort versus flow. Who doesn't want flow? I know that you do. And when you lead from a place of alignment, you're not just checking the boxes, you're actually creating impact, really inspiring those around you and impacting things to move forward in a really powerful and meaningful way. So if you, again, let's give an example of, what if you're wired for empathy? And some people just aren't. We have people wired for empathy and those that aren't. I love to use the example of my brother, and maybe he'll be listening to this. And he's a top leader, very successful. And empathy is something that he's practiced as a skill. Whereas for me, empathy is something that comes more natural. And so you might excel in roles that require really strong interpersonal connections, like mentoring or team leadership. So when you focus on the strengths that you have, you'll actually find greater fulfillment and effectiveness. So he's going to lean more naturally towards roles in conversation where he can use the skill of empathy, but also drive things forward in a different approach. Whereas for me, because it's more natural, I'm going to lean into that as an approach that I can use to support whatever decisions and ideas we're trying to move forward. So, something that you can look at here is really identifying an area in your leadership where you feel more inflow, where things just feel like they click. I like to say where hours go by and you actually didn't even really notice that the time was flying. And reflect on how this might be connected to your own neuro identity. And think about how you can bring more of that natural alignment into your leadership practice. I think when I really pause on this, many of us look up to someone. We've been mentored by someone, or even if we haven't been mentored, we've been taught by someone, or we've been under someone from a leadership perspective. And so we are naturally going to look to those situations and take on traits of those situations and mentors and leaders without always taking the time to say, hang on, who am I really? What are my gifts really? What are my greatest strengths really? And how do I lean into those as I step forward into the impact and influence that I want to have? So that's the reflection in this moment, is really thinking about that. Recently, I was working with a team and we were using this concept of understanding that everyone has different geniuses, everyone has different capabilities, and we end up putting people into roles often without reflecting on, especially as we move up in an organization. Sometimes somebody will be amazing at the role they've had and they share the values and vision of the business, and so we move them forward, and yet that role that they've developed into isn't necessarily a full fit. And so by understanding and really honoring each team member's neuro identity, in this situation, we were able to create a more dynamic and innovative environment. So we took two leaders that were in a similar role to their peers, and we looked at how we could take their gifts and support the business strategy in a more effective way. And the impact was immediately noticed. The power of leading from alignment with who people are and what their greatest gifts are, what their neuro identity actually is. It takes stress out of the system. It allows you to achieve outcomes in like a really more aligned, powerful way. You see more joy and fulfillment in people. You see less overwhelm and tired. So there's so many benefits of really taking the time to understand this with your own teams. I've given you a couple of ideas on how you can pause and reflect and step into understanding your neuro identity in a more powerful way. I want to give you a practical tool or two that you can implement immediately. So one tool that I've found invaluable in this journey is maintaining a reflection journal. Now, I think that journaling is, again, might not be your thing based on who you are. So journaling can be done in really different ways. You might write, you might actually leave yourself voice audios, you might like to type yourself an email, you might like to sit in meditation and reflect without ever writing it down or speaking about it. So when I say the word journal, really look for your own internal system of what that looks like for you. So really it's about taking that time to reflect and to start to see some patterns that you can then start to step into that future state self. The other one is assessments. There's all sorts of assessments out there that provide deeper insights into your own wiring, into your own personality, into how you make decisions, into how you communicate and respond to stress. And they really are powerful tools to help you to step into your true self, to understand a clearer path. I always find such joy in seeing people have the opportunity to go through assessments and trust themselves more. I think that's the biggest learning from working with all these different assessment tools. And we have lots in our kit bag here. So if that's ever something you're curious about, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to have a conversation about which ones might actually serve you as you step into that version of becoming her. And then before we sign off, I do want to share this other map with you. So again, if you're listening to us today, what I'm showing is the Neuro Identity Evolution Map. And I think it's really such a powerful map that I'm studying in this certification on this way to becoming. And it's about doing the deep healing inner work. It's about mastering the mind and the body. And then it's about letting her lead, that next level version that when you slow down and you go inner, that person who knows who she is, knows who she wants to be, can deeply feel what she would do. It's that juicy vision that pulls you forward in everything that you do. And so we'll take a little snapshot of that for you and leave it in the show notes. I was going to say snow notes, and it is the middle of summer, so I don't know where snow came from, but instead we'll leave it in the show notes. To wrap up, understanding and embracing your neuro identity is really about aligning with your leadership, with who you truly are. I even think of parenting and the important relationships we have in our lives. When you can lead from this place in every aspect of your life, everything becomes easier and more impactful. This week, I encourage you to just take one moment, take one inspired action, whether it's reflecting on your decision-making style, aligning your role more deeply with your strengths, or journaling about your leadership experiences. Remember, becoming the leader and becoming the her you're meant to be, is a journey of aligning with your true self, and it's an evolution. Thank you so much for joining me today on Ambitious, Awakened, and Aligned. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to connect with me on social media or through my website. DM me. Let's continue this journey together towards becoming her, the most authentic and powerful version of you. And I'll leave you with this thought: the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.